Hey, Joe from Coding Blocks here. Wanted to show you a little bit about my latest side project called Grafka, which is a GraphQL interface for Apache Kafka. If you're not familiar with Kafka, I'm not going to go into the details, so you might be a little lost here, but if you are interested in Kafka, then you should definitely stick around. So at a high level, I've got the notion of clusters, and I've got a descriptive name there and like a generated ID just so I can kind of keep track of things in the system. And you can pull basic information back about the cluster. And thanks to GraphQL, which is the UI I'm using here, we've got things like documentation and autocomplete, so it makes things much easier to type here. So the cluster information isn't too cool, but I've got it. Topic listings start to get more interesting. So now we can pull back a list of all the topics on the system, as well as things like their configs. And the API is pretty verbose. I try to kind of keep it in lockstep with Kafka, so in case they make any changes, I don't have to, do anything that's kind of out of band, or didn't invent any new abstractions that conflict with that. So as you can see, it does get pretty in depth, even for things like the configurations. I tried to plumb through everything I could find, and yeah, so you can see that coming back right there, which is really cool. And so if you wanted to build an application and have a topic landing page that showed all the configurations for a topic, there you go. I just wrote the query while we were talking on the video. So in addition to things like the configs, we can also pull back the consumer groups, which have things like offsets. So this is the information that Kafka keeps around what consumers are where in their various topics. So I don't think I actually have any consumer groups hooked up right now. I guess we'll see. All right, so nobody's hacked me yet. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I also do have basic support for the schema registry, but I don't want to go too far down into the weeds. So let me just show you everything that I've got plumbed through now. And this is going to take a while to run. So you can see there's quite a bit of field. So there's some recursiveness, like things will refer to each other and stuff. So I trimmed that out of here, but this is basically the gist of the schema all in kind of one query. So I'm going to go ahead and run that, and that's going to take a while, although this is just a test cluster. So this is not something I recommend doing in production, but as you can see, I've got all sorts of stuff coming back about basically my two empty topics. Now there is one other thing I wanted to show you, which is basically how subscriptions work, because the last kind of piece of the puzzle here is basically the messages. So GraphQL has a version conflict with the Java libraries I'm using for this. So I'm going to pop over to another user interface here called Altair. And by the way, Grafka does spin up both of these environments for you. I'm going to watch this topic for new messages. And it's the old messages I sent while I'm testing. And what I'm going to do here is create a simple test producer here. And this is really basic. It doesn't send key information. I do support the schema generator. So if you have like Avro encoded messages, then this is going to pick those up. And so, yeah, as you can see, as I kind of type over here in one window, it shows up over here on the left. So you can see that this description is all running with one call from my client, and then it's communicating over WebSockets in order to stream data. And as you can see, it's really freaking quick. So that's pretty cool. I am working on a user interface for this as well. I've got some basic documentation here, sample queries, links to the UIs, and just kind of like we saw, the UI is much farther behind GraphQL endpoint. But you can do the same kind of things, including seeing the messages that come through. So I'm working on it. And if this is something you're interested in, then you should head over to GitHub. We'll have a link down in the description below where you can check out Grafka.